evening, and welcome to Maine Perspectives. I'm Stephen Perizone. Tonight on Maine Perspectives, we're going to be talking about the comprehensive planning process and its effects on property rights and taxpayers. With me in the studio tonight are two people who have experience in those fields. Dr. Jonathan Malamude. He's been active in the battle to preserve local control and self-government in Maine in the face of increasing efforts by the state to regionalize government and take control of property and neighborhoods away from the citizens. Dr. Malamude directs Call Me, which is the Constitutional Advancement and Literacy League of Maine, an organization dedicated to preserving local control and citizens' rights. My other guest is Jim Michalek, and he is president of the Concerned Taxpayers Association of South Portland. Now, the Concerned Taxpayers work to inform and educate the public on political issues that impact South Portland and other Maine communities. Gentlemen, thank you for being on Maine Perspectives.
My pleasure.
Okay. Before we get into this, there is one question I want you to, if you can just briefly explain, what does the phrase comprehensive planning process mean?
Jonathan, that's a good one for you to start off with.
Okay. The comprehensive planning process is a process of strategic planning. That is a process by which a certain significant length of time into the future is preempted. And often implicit in the comprehensive planning process is the regionalization of local government into a governmental process that will administer government behavior over a larger area going beyond the specific locality. The phrase which is often used in comprehensive planning is finding interlocal solutions to regional problems. But what that often comes down to, what the bottom line often is in comprehensive planning, is an imposed structure which in effect forces municipalities to cooperate to the point where local control is lost to the tax-paying citizen, and with it significant control over zoning, over private property, and even over taxation and financial policy. For example, one of the most significant aspects of comprehensive planning is a capital improvement plan, or CIP, which was mandated within many comprehensive plans. What this does is, in effect, set up an escrow account and forces the taxpayers in the municipality to throw a significant portion based on anticipated capital expenditures of their tax revenue into this escrow account to meet future expenses.
We've got one here, Jonathan. I happen to have South Portland's, being from South Portland. I have South Portland's comprehensive plan, and this is the CIP, the SIP, or capital improvement plan, which totals over $25 million for South Portland. And what Jonathan is saying is absolutely accurate. It will tie in, it will tie down South Portland for years to come with this kind of investment in infrastructure, programs, plans that once put in place, the citizens of South Portland will have very little control over.
So they're locked into this and no flexibility?
Yeah, it's a lock-in plan that it's sort of like a tinker toy kind of system. It's a lock-in plan that not only preempts the community's administrative and political behavior, its decision-making process, its legislative process, in effect, into the far future, but it also moves the community toward forced cooperation with neighboring communities. The end result of that is that a local regional agency such as Greater Portland Council of Governments, GPCOG, will ultimately gain control over the political processes of, say, 24 towns in a particular region, lock them in as a group of municipalities, and begin to move them toward, round them up and move them toward what they call euphemistically, politely, interlocal solutions to regional problems. And what these are is forced pooling and sharing of resources, and ultimately forced pooling and sharing of tax monies. If you're familiar with the MDC Commission down in the Boston area, Metropolitan District Commission, if you're familiar with the fact that the state of Maine is divided into, that is the entire territory of the state of Maine is divided into 11 planning regions. And these regions have begun to leach decision-making power away from the municipalities in each of the 11 planning regions.
In order to
then
bring
you can see what comprehensive planning implies. It is indeed comprehensive.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's to just extrapolate a little bit of what you're saying, Jonathan, so that people can understand what it is we're talking about. That was a lot of information that came out in one simple question, but it is a complicated issue, and the thing that must be understood by the citizens of the state of Maine is that this is a process which is being forced down from the top and not from the bottom up.
It's not a grassroots
It is not a grassroots thing at all.
It's a mandated process.
Sounds like centralized government.
It's centralization.
It's centralization, and it's basically run by professionals who have a vested career interest in tying us into this
career and also economically too. They have vested interests.
Absolutely, because the wealth of the country is what pays for the services, and planning is a service just like any other service in this country. If the more planning we bring upon ourselves, the more of our wealth that we generate will have to be directed towards that bureaucracy in order to support it.
To support the bureaucracy, sure.
The comprehensive planning process is just beginning, but one of the things that we were talking about earlier was that comprehensive planning is open-ended.
Okay. Why does this sound so? If somebody like a layman like me says, "Oh, well, that doesn't sound bad. Comprehensive planning process. Comprehensive sounds good." So it's kind of a misleading name. It implies one thing, but it's really doing something else.
If you understand, if you take the word comprehensive at full value, face value, then that should be enough to frighten you.
Okay.
The difficulty is that, and I know this to be a fact for our community in South Portland, people don't understand what comprehensive means. They don't understand where this is coming from.
Right.
We say in South Portland, this is the taxpayers group as well, we say if a community wishes to plan, fine, let it do it itself. Let it define its own priorities for the community. But to have a higher level of power come down on our community and tell us that we must do this and we must do that and we must enter into these contracts with the planning bureaucracy and the politicians and the lawyers that will enforce the codes and the laws. All that baggage that comes with it is totally unfair, it's totally undemocratic, and flies in the face of everything that this country was set up on.
It sounds like it flies in the face of the traditional Maine town meetings type of way government has been done in Maine.
Absolutely. Comprehensive planning has the full potential of reducing separate Maine municipalities and towns into mere neighborhoods within a 30 or 40 town regional construct. Once that happens, the density of regulation will increase, and with that, people will be blackmailed into giving up portions of their property or property rights or easements for the sake of gaining permits, building permits or other use permits, which they may have taken for granted and considered to be their normal and legitimate right. In other words, the heart and soul of comprehensive planning is evil, as it's being practiced now, because it is based on the concept of the end justifies the means. The plan is written in terms of goals and objectives, and then the proper